it was never meant to sink. History isn't always what we're told. Subscribe to uncover the stories behind the facts. The Titanic wasn't just a ship, it was a statement. The largest, most luxurious vessel ever built, designed to be unsinkable. Engineers trusted it, passengers believed in it, and the world saw it as unstoppable. But what if it was never supposed to survive the journey at all? The RMS Titanic was a British passenger liner built by the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast for the White Star Line, and at the time of its launch in 1912, it was the largest moving object ever constructed by humans, measuring approximately 269 meters in length and weighing over 46,000 gross tons. The ship was powered by a combination of reciprocating steam engines and a low-pressure turbine, allowing it to reach speeds of about 21 to 23 knots, which was considered highly efficient for a vessel of its size. One of its most advanced features was its internal safety design, which included 16 watertight compartments separated by bulkheads, with doors that could be closed manually or automatically in case of flooding. This system was based on contemporary naval engineering principles and was intended to allow the ship to remain afloat even if up to 4 compartments were flooded. However, contrary to popular belief, the Titanic was never officially described as unsinkable by its builders. Instead, this reputation developed through public interpretation and media exaggeration of its safety features. The ship also carried lifeboats for approximately 1,178 people, which was significantly less than its total capacity of over 2,200 passengers and crew, but still met the legal requirements set by the British Board of Trade at the time. This gap between perceived safety and actual preparedness reflected the broader confidence of the era, when technological progress led many to believe that large-scale engineering could effectively eliminate risk. In reality, the Titanic was a product of its time, combining cutting-edge design with regulatory limitations and human assumptions, creating a vessel that was advanced but not invulnerable. On April 14, 1912, the Titanic was traveling through the North Atlantic at a speed of approximately 22 knots, which was close to its maximum operating capability, despite multiple ice warnings received throughout the day from nearby ships via wireless telegraph. These warnings, transmitted using the Marconi system, included messages from vessels such as the SS Californian and the SS Mesaba, both of which reported significant ice fields and drifting icebergs directly along the Titanic's intended route. While some of these messages were acknowledged and relayed to the bridge, not all were treated with equal urgency, partly because wireless operators were also responsible for handling passenger communications, which sometimes took priority. Environmental conditions that night played a critical role in the disaster, as the sea was unusually calm and the air temperature was near freezing, creating what is known as a flat calm surface, which reduced the visibility of icebergs by eliminating the breaking waves that would normally form around them. Additionally, there was no moonlight to illuminate the horizon, further limiting visual detection. At approximately 11:40 p.m., lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee spotted an iceberg directly ahead and immediately rang the warning bell and contacted the bridge. First Officer William Murdoch responded by ordering a hard turn to port and reversing the engines, a standard maneuver intended to avoid a head-on collision. However, due to the ship's large mass and forward momentum, the turning response was not sufficient to completely clear the obstacle. Instead of a direct impact, the Titanic's starboard side scraped along the iceberg for several seconds, resulting in a series of breaches below the waterline. This type of glancing collision, while less visually dramatic than a direct hit, proved to be far more dangerous in terms of structural damage. The damage sustained by the Titanic was not a single large rupture, but rather a series of smaller openings along the starboard side of the hull, estimated to extend across a length of approximately 90 meters. Modern analysis suggests that the total area of these openings was relatively small, possibly no larger than a few square meters in total, but their distribution across multiple compartments made them critically dangerous. The hull plates in the affected region were joined using a combination of steel and iron rivets, and some studies indicate that the quality of these materials, particularly the iron rivets in the bow section, may have contributed to the failure under stress. As seawater entered the first 5 compartments, the ship quickly exceeded its design tolerance, which allowed it to remain afloat with only 4 compartments flooded. Once this threshold was crossed, the bow began to gradually sink lower into the water, increasing the pressure on the forward structure. A key limitation in the design was the height of the watertight bulkheads, which did not extend high enough to prevent water from spilling over into adjacent compartments as the ship's angle changed. This created a progressive flooding effect, often compared to a cascading sequence where each filled compartment contributed to the next. The rate of flooding was influenced by hydrostatic pressure, meaning that as the bow sank deeper, water entered more rapidly, accelerating the process. Despite the crew's efforts to close watertight doors and manage the situation, the overall structural integrity of the ship was compromised by the uneven distribution of weight and increasing stress on the hull. Over the next 2 hours and 40 minutes, the Titanic transitioned from a stable vessel to one undergoing irreversible structural failure, ultimately leading to its breakup and sinking in the early hours of April 15, 1912. Following the sinking of the Titanic, which resulted in the loss of over 1,500 lives, official investigations were conducted by both the United States Senate and the British Board of Trade to determine the causes of the disaster and identify any contributing factors. These inquiries revealed that the sinking was not the result of a single failure, but rather a combination of environmental conditions, engineering limitations, and human decisions. One of the key findings was that the Titanic maintained a relatively high speed in an area known to contain ice, a practice that was not uncommon at the time, but significantly increased the risk under the given conditions. The investigations also highlighted issues with communication, noting that some critical ice warnings were not effectively prioritized or delivered to the ship's command in a timely manner. Additionally, the lack of sufficient lifeboats, while compliant with existing regulations, was recognized as a major factor in the high casualty rate. Another point of concern was the proximity of nearby ships, particularly the SS Californian, which was reported to be within visual range but did not respond in time, partly due to its wireless operator being off-duty during the critical period. These findings led to significant changes in maritime safety regulations, including the requirement for lifeboats for all passengers, continuous radio monitoring, and the establishment of the International Ice Patrol to monitor iceberg conditions in the North Atlantic. Ultimately, the Titanic disaster demonstrated that technological advancement alone cannot eliminate risk, and that safety depends not only on design, but also on decision-making, communication, and preparedness. The ship did not fail because it was poorly built for its time, but because multiple factors aligned in a way that exposed the limits of both human systems and human judgment.